Don't forget to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you know when videos drop. Thanks for watching.
Trouble with India's peacocks. That's something I never thought I'd hear myself talking about in any of our videos. We've been talking a lot through the years, and I've been helping out people in Southern California, in La Cañada, Arcadia, California, and the Palos Verdes Peninsula with their wild peafowl problem. They kind of came there in 1924. And then there's a new problem down near Miami Beach and Coconut Grove area in Florida, and various smaller flocks of peacocks elsewhere. But I never thought that I would ever talk about problems in India. But after studying this, I see there's a similarity between the problem India's having and the problem we are having with our wild peafowl, especially in California. The report, I believe it's called the New Indian Express, along with the other publication called the Hindu, are writing about this problem. And I have a sheet here of lots of facts to go through of what they're saying. And some of them are very similar to what I've heard since 1992 when I was a paid consultant at Rolling Hills Estates, California with their wild peacock problem. You may have seen me talk about that in the past in our videos. Recently, talking with people in Miami, Florida, and other places. It's just a problem when peafowl are around people. Now, on our peacock farm, we don't have that problem because right here is our pen with our India blue peacocks and whites behind us, and in the back pen are our other colors. They're here. On our 4 acres, they roam wild. They never cause any problems to any person or anything. Do they eat my tomatoes sometimes? Yep. So I put a little cage around it. One of these little 3-foot cages that come up to my waist. And it's just fine. My tomatoes are just fine. And then when I want to, I let them have a few tomatoes for fun. It's just good for them. They eat a lot of bugs. But in India, they are claiming that the peacocks are going in the rice paddies and destroying the crops and the chili area where they grow chilies, and there's all kinds of conjectures of what the problem is. I'm going to read you a few of the things that I found in both of these newspaper stories. I'm going to list the links to them so you could read them on your own at your leisure. Here's a few things that I took out of the story to report to you out of the New Indian Express. It is associated with forecast of rain. The bird anticipates rain and dances after seeing rain-filled black clouds. Oh my gosh, where did they get that from? We get storms here in Iowa, USA, North America all the time, and the peacocks are out there with dark clouds. That never happens. I think somebody was just having fun making up some interesting copy for their story. They say that there's an overbreeding problem of peacocks in India. Well, that's the same thing we hear in Southern California. Experts say the expansion of agricultural land and the reduction of forests also brought peafowl/peacocks in conflict with humans. If you go back to my videos many years before 2023, you'll hear me say peacocks were there first. Urban sprawl caused the problems. If peacocks were there in Southern California, in this one spot, someone sold that land, they built a house, and the peacocks are still there. And obviously the peacocks are not going to move. They'll be scared off by any kind of construction equipment, but that problem will go away once the construction company goes away and the peacocks are there. The climate is perfect, like in Southern California and in Miami and in India. There's so many similarities. This is the one that always gets me all the time. Climate change. Oh my goodness, you're right. Climate change is a big problem. We've had climate change since the beginning of time. We have climate change in California. We get rainy seasons out there. It turns out that the rain comes and then the chicks don't survive when there's a lot of rain. And then when it's dry, they say that peacocks and peahens are just mating out to beat the band. A peahen's gonna lay up to about 20 eggs a year if you steal every egg. If you don't, she'll lay anywhere between 3 to 6, maybe 8 eggs in a nest and have their babies. Sometimes they even have 2 clutches of eggs in one season. And if the season's long enough, such as in India and Southern California, it could be more. That's just the way it is. That's kind of crazy. And of course, the global warming, they're using that as their excuse for why the India peafowl are having a lot of problems. In the Hindu study, they said the drops in predators are allowing the peafowl population to get stronger and stronger. Well, that's fascinating because we've seen coyotes here on our property chase after peacocks peacocks and almost get them, but they get a mouthful of feathers, fortunately for the peacocks. Perhaps jackals are more cunning than a coyote. I don't know anything about jackals. I know coyotes very well. Neither one of them are very good for any kind of poultry or birds. They're also saying again in this Hindu report that rising temperature, again, climate change, dry areas, and that's preferred by the birds. Now, my birds don't prefer wet or dry climates. I don't believe the Southern California birds that are wild there since 1924 prefer wet or dry climate. Things change. Here on the peacock farm, some years we have a great hatch, some years we have a horrible hatch. Farmers here in Iowa, mid-America, have good crops some years because there's more rain, and maybe not so good crops when there's not enough rain. That's just the way it is, and that is definitely climate change because every year it changes. It's obvious. In the Hindu report, they also say that peafowl prefer rice fields, tomatoes, and chili fields. I've never seen any of my peacocks eat my chili peppers, ever. They could. They probably are eating bugs that are on the chili peppers. They should be happy about that. Tomatoes is another problem. They will eat the tomatoes. It becomes a problem, like I said earlier, I have to put a fence up. And they also say in this report that concrete compound walls replace biofence, ground-dwelling carnivores tend to reduce in this area, giving more space to birds such as peafowl. If you put up fences, peacocks can fly over fences. They're not going to go over the fence unless they're bothered by it or they get used to a habit. And they do have habits here. We've trained our birds to go to bed in this very barn. We let them out and they're out for a couple hours a day because the coyotes will try to attack them, so we have to watch them. And then at the end of the day, I walk them back into the barn and they get to safety here in this very barn. The problem is that when there's fences around, if they're tall enough, they're more likely not to go over there unless somebody chases them, whether it be a human or an animal. This next one is so interesting, and this really tells the whole story. Farmers use sounds such as beating plates or drums to prevent birds from entering fields, and they hope that they will chase them away. The birds are very cunning. Peafowl are smart. If they detect that I'm rushing them or impatient, they kind of play games with you. I know this for a fact. I've seen this for 43 plus years on this very farm. These people are hitting plates and whatever, drums, and making sounds or using any artificial sounds. The birds will get used to it. They think it's fun. They kind of like to have fun with humans, but they get used to these sounds, and that's what happens. So now let's put it all together. In closing here, we've got a problem in India. Peacocks are the national bird of India, and they are protected by law. And yes, we don't want to see any crops be destroyed. The people need those crops to have life and pay their bills. There's another problem. I believe that doing certain things cause this problem. I have never been in India, nor do I have any plans to go there. I'm hoping someday to get some more videos of wild peafowl in India in these areas where the crops are being destroyed. I've never seen a peacock go into the cornfields or the soybean fields here in Iowa, USA, North America, and destroy that. If anything, they're going into those fields to eat bugs. That's right, they're going to eat bugs. I call peacocks and peahens pesticide control. You don't have to spray when you have birds. I bet if I went there and watched, I think that would be the problem. There's a lot of birds that could cause a problem. I would love to see video. Send them to my website, peafowl.com. I will produce that on our YouTube channel. We are willing to help anybody in India with this problem, but it's pretty simple. Humans caused the problems. As they built out communities, and India is growing very much. From what I read in all the news reports, the peafowl were there, and now they're sprawling out. As people come in, peacocks spread out, and that's where they're going to go, wherever there's room and space. And they're going to go where the food's at and where the water's at, and people love the peacocks in India. You can see all kinds of artwork. They are revered by the Indian people. We have talked to a few of them, not many. We'd like to hear from more people from India, but from what I understand, people take good care of them and are very happy with the birds. I think some of the younger people are finding it to get in the way of their lifestyle. Like I always say, there's two methods of taking care of a problem with peafowl. It's either you live with them and deal with it, or get rid of them all. And we're never going to get rid of the peacocks in India. We love them there. In fact, we would love to have some of that bloodline here on the peacock farm right here. to put in the cage right behind me with our India blue peacocks. And the heat and humidity is something that peacocks really like. Cold, not so much, but they handle 25 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit with wind chills of 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. But back to India, heat, humidity, dry, wet, that's going to be a climate change issue, and it's always going to change from year to year. And eventually there'll be less peafowl when the rains come in, and I'm expecting that to happen soon. I'm not a weatherman, but you just look at weather patterns for the last 50, 60 years and you'll see that they go around in cycles. That's the way it does here in Iowa for 43 years. Next year we may have a completely dry year or a completely wet year. We don't know. We'll wait and see what the changes in weather will be. So that's a story about peacock problems in India. If you have any comments, email me at my website, peafowl.com, and we'll communicate with you there. That would be the best way. Thanks for viewing.
Hey viewers, don't forget to make a donation. The link's below.
Order the Wacky World of Peafowl books at peafowl.com.